My name is Danny Bakewell Jr. and well, I have a lot of different titles. I am the Executive Editor and Chief of Staff for the Los Angeles Sentinel and Bakewell Media. I'm also the Executive Vice President of Development and Chief of Staff for the Bakewell Company. So depending on when you catch me and what hat I have on at that moment, it varies. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. We moved here when I was about 4 years old, so probably the first 10 years of my life, or 8 years of my life, I grew up in South Los Angeles, in Inglewood, California. We moved here to Pasadena when I was 12 years old, and have basically lived here the majority of my life since. Went to Field Elementary School in Pasadena, went to John Marshall for junior high school, and my freshman year, then I went to Bourbon Day in Watts and graduated from Bourbon Day High School in Watts, is where I graduated from high school. Went off to college. I went to Southeast Missouri State University to play football, was there for a few years, came back home, did a lot more partying than I did studying, so came home and went to work. Went to work for the family business first. I often say that I thought I was worth more than I probably was, and my dad didn't think I was worth as much as I thought, and so we parted ways. I worked for about 5 years for a company called Noble's Property Management. We specialized in the management of low-income HUD properties, and I managed properties from San Bernardino County through Los Angeles County and all the way up to Palmdale, Lancaster area. I then was hired from there and went to work for Pasadena Neighborhood Housing Services as their Director of Development, where I did a number of development projects here in Pasadena. After completing that, I finally decided, and I think I had proven that that I had some value outside of being Danny Bakewell Jr., both to myself and to my father. Got my general contractor's license and went back to the family business, and have basically been there for the past 22, 23 plus years. Well, the Los Angeles Sentinel is the largest and oldest African-American publication west of the Mississippi. And I think it's important, it's relevant, just as all black press throughout the country in whatever areas and markets they serve, because we experience things, we see things differently than the majority newspapers. And so we tell our news, and we tell it from our point of view, our story. And I think that's an important fact. Where other people see one thing, we see it, and we have a historical perspective that's different from other communities. And that's the importance of the black press. And furthermore, we like to say, we tell our story, and we tell the importance of African-American fraternities and sororities and social organizations in our community, just as other communities do. A lot of times I tell people there's no difference between Danny Bakewell Sr. As a philanthropist, as somebody who is a philanthropist in Orange County. The difference is the philanthropist in Orange County, his community needs a new museum, and so he puts his time and energy into helping the community get a new museum. In the African American community, we need jobs, we need places to shop, we need those things, and we need somebody to advocate for that. And that's what Danny Bakewell Sr. has made his life being about, is serving our community and our people. Well, I think if you look around the country, if you look around the world, real estate is the base for the majority of families' wealth. And it's important for African Americans to understand the importance of it. I mean, we have historically always been people who owned our homes, and that was really the major asset of generations of wealth. I mean, you talk about families that just celebrated when they bought a house, when they paid off their mortgage and things like that. But as time has evolved, there's more opportunities for an African American development company. It creates just a variety of opportunities. At the Bakewell Company, we really do emphasize and pay attention to using African American. We use African American architects, we use African American insurance brokers, we use African American contractors. We go out of our way to seek tenants that are African American in many cases, because those dollars recycle within our community. Those dollars become the foundation by which businesses can thrive, businesses can grow, they create more jobs for our young people, for our community, which allow them to be able to buy a home. And it's reinvestment in our own community. I am involved in just a number of mentorship programs. I really do try and live my life by the simple philosophy that for much is given, much is required, and I try to constantly live that. I am very involved and sit on the board of directors for USC Black Alumni Association, where we have a mentorship program for students at USC. I'm very involved with Brotherhood Crusades, young boys of color program. I'm involved with Kappa Alpha Psi, Pasadena alumni chapters, mentorship and scholarship program, as well as I just make myself available on a constant basis. Particularly if you tell me that some young people, particularly some young boys of color, are looking for somebody to support them in a lot of different ways, I'm usually trying to be the first one there. I don't. I've been asked that question on a number of cases, and the problem is that I'm probably unlike the majority of people who serve in public office. I would enjoy running for office. I would enjoy engaging in conversation that would affect the lives of the communities that I live in, the community for the people that I care about, for my community. The problem is that once I got the job, I still would only care about those things that are important to me and my community. As a public official, you have to be, first and foremost, passionate about your community and your constituency. But for me, I just want to be passionate and first and foremost about the African American community. And when things that came before us that didn't affect my community, I would probably be up there taking a nap, and I don't think that would go over too well with the newspapers and people. So I don't know that I'd be in office for a long period of time. So I like to kind of play in the background. I like to be supportive of those people who fight for my community, who carry our agenda forward, and who have our community's best interests at heart. I think that we have a responsibility first and foremost to talk it amongst ourselves, and we have to be committed to it. The problem that you have is in many cases, is you either have the crab in the barrel syndrome, or you have somebody who is advocating from the white perspective, and you use the N-word as an example. Is the moment black people start saying we are no longer going to use the N-word, we're not going to accept, we're no longer going to tolerate the use of the N-word, somebody, and it's usually a black person advocating from a white perspective, freedom of speech. We got freedom, that's taking away my freedom of speech by not letting me say that. I'm not going to stop using it. Well, the first problem is we don't own the record labels the person who's telling you that they're taking away your freedom of speech ain't another black person. You know, and the best example that I can use, and this is a lesson that we as the African American community should learn from the Jewish community. The Jewish community does not use words that are derogatory to Jews. Michael Jackson, biggest, greatest songwriter, song, album, music seller in history. When he made a song that talked about Jews, they pulled all his out, made him recut it, re-release it, redo that. If we would just stop, don't release it, don't produce it, don't give it airplay, that's what we have to do. And we need to talk about that amongst ourselves. But we also got to realize that the greater majority is always going to look to separate us because they don't want us working in unison. They're always going to put those issues. And same with black and brown. Black and brown community are always going to be divided. Not because we, truth be told, we got the same issues. We got the same challenges. But the black and brown community is never going to be able to merge because we always got an agitator that's keeping us in conflict. I remember at one time when they put forgive me because I probably don't have the propositions right, but when they had the whole proposition out about not letting the Latino community and immigrants go to work in the community. I can't tell you how many black people say, well, I ain't telling my Mexican friends this, but I'm gonna vote for it because they taking our job. And I warned them then. I said, be careful. Anytime you support an issue that's based in racism and division, they're gonna take that same issue and bring it back against you. So first, we rallied against the Latinos having opportunity employment. The next ballot initiative that came on was the 3 strikes law. So now all of a sudden the Latinos couldn't get jobs, they was getting deported, and now black people was getting deported to jail. We lost our rights to vote, we lost all that. So we took 2 steps back when we should have been taking 2 steps forward and supporting each other. But that's not what they want. That's also why I'm not going to can't be an elected official, because sometimes I tell too much honesty. I think Donald Trump is an example of where society is today. And what you have to understand is that everybody is looking for somebody to blame for their lot in life. If you, your children, don't have a job, live in a trailer park, hooked on meth, you're looking for some way to blame it. Donald Trump is playing on all those fears when he talks. He's saying, it's the Latinos' fault your child ain't got no job. That's why America ain't great. Barack Obama was not a great president. That's why your life ain't great. The truth is, whether Latinos had jobs or not, your child would not be getting off the couch and stop using meth to go to work. Barack Obama is one of the greatest presidents this country has ever seen, and history will ultimately show that. I said, but they are looking flat, and Donald Trump is playing on their fears. He's giving them a person, a reason to blame that they are failure, that their life is a failure. And the truth is, we got to all be accountable for our own life. In the African American community, as we talked about, we got issues we need to address and deal with and talk about amongst ourselves. And we can't blame nobody else for that situation. You know, within our community, we have a lot of different challenges that lay in front of us. And obviously, one of the things is the education of our young people and where our young people are today in terms of their education, in terms of their respect for their community, for the women in our community, for the elderly, just an overall sense of respect. But I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that this generation of young people right here, this is the generation of the crack babies who have had babies. So, you know, 20 years ago, 18 years ago, America was focused in talking about the fact that we had a generation of crack babies that was being born. Well, those crack babies have grown up. They've gotten together, in some cases, with each other. In many cases, they still have the same addiction problems, learning problems, and things like that. And they've now had children, and we expected them to be good parents and raise good children. And that's the problem. That's why we have so much ADHD and mental dysfunction and mental disability. We have so many kids in foster care today. All of those things that affect our community in many cases are the result of that generation of crack babies. It's our generation, it's my generation. The crack babies have now had babies. The babies have grown up. The crack babies have now grown up. The black community, we as a people will always survive. We are surviving. We are a people built from throughout history. We will always survive. We will always come together. We will have challenges, but we will succeed. The biggest challenge that our community have is that the gap is becoming wider between the haves and the have-nots. We have to be conscious of the fact that those who have a responsibility to reach back, each one teach one, to much is given, much is required. All of those become our responsibility. And what happens is, too often, those of us who have had success, and particularly those who have great success, we then kind of take that Republican mentality that it ain't my problem and it ain't my responsibility. And the truth is, it's all of our responsibility, because what allowed us to be the people we are, what allowed us to be the man you are, the woman you are as a success, is really based upon the fact that someone along the way reached back and gave you an opportunity. I don't care who you are, where you are in life, whether you graduated from Harvard, you consider yourself a self-made man, a great athlete, somebody helped you get there along the way. Somebody taught you a lesson that has paved the way for you. Sometimes it's your mother, sometimes your father, sometimes it was a stranger. But all along the way, somebody has helped you. And that, for me, is the greatest joy I can get, is when I know that I've had the opportunity to help someone. Not that I'm looking for fanfare, but just an inner understanding that I have made a difference in somebody else's life is a great reward for me. In terms of education in our community, I think the first thing we have to understand is everybody learns differently. There's no monolithic program that's going to help all African American men, all African American women. Some people will do well in a co-educational system. Some will do well in an all boys, all girls. Some will do well in an integrated system. I think the important thing, first and foremost, is that we teach our children the value of education, the appreciation for education. You know, one of the things when I became a parent that I realized is that in the African, and particularly as my children really started going to schools that weren't all black, and they weren't, you know, they were more private schools and things like that, is that in the black community, at least when I was growing up, we had a fundamental ideology that said, you're going to finish high school. You're going to get a high school diploma. And that was kind of no less than in the African American community. But what I learned is while we were doing that, other communities were, you are going to get a BA, a BS. You were going to get a 4-year degree from college with the same. That was an option. You could decide if you want to go get your doctorate, your master's, that was an option. But finishing those basic 4 years of college was not an option. So we have to learn to appreciate education, and we have to learn to be able to advance that to our children. And we have to stop believing that the only way we're going to be successful is if we can sing, dance, dribble a basketball, throw a football, run fast. We have to say, that's not for everybody. Some will make it. But, you know, agents and there's a lot of lawyers, and, you know, those athletes hire a lot of people. And we have to be mindful that education is a main focus in helping our community to move forward. You know, we are constantly, as a development company, looking for development opportunities. Unfortunately, it becomes a greater and greater challenge. Not that, you know, we don't have the access to capital that other companies have. In some cases, we have more. We have a greater track record than a lot of real estate development companies. We've been in business for almost 40 years. We've got over 2 million square feet of retail, industrial, and office space that we still own and control. We've developed over 400 homes and 2 million square feet of residential, but we still struggle, one, to even get invited and given the opportunity to develop, even within our own community. And it's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle for whatever reason it is, and I don't always know why. Fair Oaks Renaissance Plaza is a perfect example. It started out, everyone said it couldn't be done. It would never be done. We got it built. We got it done. Then people said, oh, it'll never survive. People won't respect it. It's going to deal with all these different problems. This center has thrived. This center, I have friends who I grew up with who said, I don't know why you're putting a Starbucks over there. That Starbucks is going to fail. It's actually one of the top Starbucks in the city. Bonds has done well. Most of the retailers, from Subway to Luke Walker's Barbershop, have been here and around.